Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your monthly zodiac reading for the month of October 2025. As always, we are going to pull an overall energy theme. We will pull tarot for each week. We will go over those card meanings. I will discuss the upcoming transits for each of those weeks and how they could be correlated to the messages that we see before us. And then we will pull additional tarot with additional oracle guidance. So let's see what the overall theme is for the month of October. What does Taurus need to know for October 2025? The Metal King, and it's in reverse, so this is a challenger. Discipline, armor, and boundaries. I've experienced that card a couple times, and when it does come up, it's warning against, like, you need more self-discipline to maintain your own sense of boundary because energies are kind of creeping in on that. I will read from the book. Be mindful of codependency and enmeshment when the Metal King comes as your challenger. He is inviting you to address how overwhelmed you may be around other people. Do you pick up their feelings like a sponge? Do you feel like you need to heal them so that you feel better? Ouch. Get grounded. Be clear about your own personal boundaries and restrain yourself when you feel like jumping in to help without being asked. This is also a warning against forming unhealthy relationships in any area of your life. Typically, whenever and I was actually discussing this with someone the other day, typically whenever we feel the need to protect others from their own discomfort, it's actually, we're actually trying to protect ourselves from our discomfort, because their discomfort makes us feel uncomfortable, right? And so we will kind of interject and we will try to help, whether we've been asked to, whether we have not been asked to. We will try to assert ourselves into their lives to help them heal in some way, or to just prevent them from feeling pain, or sometimes even the consequences to their own actions. And that's simply, it's actually something we have developed that we don't want to feel our own discomfort. So we're like, if I can make them feel better, then it'll actually make me feel better, right? But we never really think about the it'll make me feel better part. We focus on, well, I just want to help them feel better because I'm overly empathetic. Are you though? Are you empathetic to the point, so empathetic to the point where you're now kind of restricting their own free will and their own ability to heal themselves or to experience the consequences of their actions? So that's kind of what the Metal King is advising against. Codependency. He's advising against, sacrificing your own boundaries for the sake of others, and recognizing that people have to experience their own human experience, because when we interject, we interrupt their own sense of free will and we interfere with their human experience. And that can become a very, very bad habit to develop. Here in this first week, the 8 of Wands in reverse. So this is hesitancy. This is miscommunication. These are actions taken that are not hitting the mark, right? It's either because we're taking them on impulse or we're overthinking and we're not seeing things clearly, right? So it's either inaction, poor action, or misguided or misdirected action, which can go along with what the Metal King has stated. It's also miscommunication. Here in the second week, the Queen of Swords, seeing things clearly, seeing things from a very balanced perspective. She's a very clear communicator. She's a very concise communicator. She's someone who is emotionally intelligent, but she does not let those emotions cloud her judgment. She's very clear and she's concise, and she's able to kind of compartmentalize, to see things, to see the bigger picture in a way where she can make objective decisions. She can make impartial decisions. This card is ruled by Libra. We just stepped into Libra season at the time of this recording. And the thing I recognize is that Libra is the only zodiac sign within the within the zodiac that is represented by an inanimate object, right? Aries is the ram. Taurus, you're the bull. Capricorn is the sea goat. But Aries, all of those things are sentient beings in some way. But Aries is the scales. It's an inanimate object, right? And that to me correlates to Libra's ability, or Libra's, the highest aspect of Libra personality is to stay impartial. And in order to stay impartial, you have to remove the emotion out of it as best you can. Not to the point where she goes in reverse and she becomes cold and calculating, but to the point where you are able to compartmentalize. Here in the third week, balance. Making a decision, trying to balance things like life, health, relationships, money, like financial stability, things of those nature. Really trying to find that balance and trying to like maintain a sense of priority. What's a priority? And then here in the last week, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So this knight moves so slowly that he doesn't move anywhere at all. Right? And this could be an inability to take action out of fear. This is an inability to take action due to procrastination, right? And of course, procrastination always kind of is tied to a fear or a limiting belief in some way. But this knight is not going anywhere. He doesn't move. Okay? So we really have to, hopefully we'll find out why the knight's not moving. Here in this first week, Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication, is moving into the sign of Scorpio. Mercury moving into Scorpio, our thoughts and our communication could be much more depth focused. We might actually be more heightened to look beneath the surface of questions and communications. For you guys, Scorpio, is in your 7th house. This is long-term commitments. This is long-term like marriage contracts, business contracts, but mostly it's our interpersonal relationships, right? The people that we really invest our time and our energy into. So it could be that you and a partner, you and a long-term friend, there's some miscommunication. If this is about long-term commitments, like goals, things like that, desires, things that you're trying to create, it could be that it's misguided action, right? The actions that you're taking aren't hitting the mark the way you're hoping they would. We will also experience on the 7th a full moon within the sign of Aries. So full moons are a buildup of energy. They're a culmination, and the light of the moon it's revealing things that we need to see. And the things that we need to see are ultimately things that might be prohibiting our growth. For you guys, this full moon is going to be hitting your 12th house. This is not an easy house to have a transit go through, but the full moon is going to be revealing maybe where your actions have been misguided due to subconscious layers of things that really you need to see. And if that's the case, if your inability to address your own discomfort is what causes you to take on other people's emotions to try and heal them so that you can heal yourself, that's really going to reveal itself right there. Here in the second week, the Queen of Swords, Venus moves into the sign of Libra. Libra for you guys sits in your 6th house. This is your day-to-day routines. This is your health and work habits. This is even pets. Like things that we take care of on a daily basis. That's kind of what that 6th house consists of. And it can even consist of coworkers, right? People that we see at work. Virgo governs the workplace. So Venus is moving into Libra. So it could be that you really are able to gain a deeper sense of what it is that you value throughout your day-to-day. You're able to see that clearly. And maybe hopefully you're able to be impartial with what is actually important versus what really isn't. Here in the third week, we have a new moon within the sign of Libra. So again, your 6th house is being activated. I said earlier something about priorities. Our day-to-day is built up of like the things we hone in on, and the things that we focus in on a daily basis reveal what our priorities are. Right? So if we're constantly being attentive to the people in our lives that don't know how to regulate their emotions, that's a priority for us. Well, why is something like that a priority for us, right? That's what this new moon can reveal. That's how you can work with this new moon. But this is about focusing on what your priorities are, balancing what's really important in your life and what's actually going to help you achieve your goals, whether that is physical health, um, bringing more value to your relationships. And again, just overall, what are your priorities in your life? Okay. Finding that balance and making those choices to really put your time, your energy, and your effort and your resources into what is actually bringing value to your life and what is actually what you actually are prioritizing or want to prioritize. That's what this new moon can bring about for you, an opportunity to set those intentions about what is actually important to you. This is also when we will step into Scorpio season. I love the synchronicity that Scorpio season begins like the week before Halloween, and Scorpio is all about like death and transformation and all of those kind of witchy things. And so I love the fact that Scorpio season is going to occur like right before Halloween. But anytime we switch into a new season is the time that the themes and qualities of that sign tend to take center stage. So with Scorpio, this is about transformation. This is about seeing deep. This is about looking at the darker aspects of life and reality. For you guys, it's also an opportunity to use those 4 weeks, use Scorpio season to really put a lot of focus into that particular area of your life. And for you guys, Scorpio sits in your 7th house. So like I said, this is long-term commitments. What do you value long-term? Is it your health? Is it bringing more value to your relationships? Is it money, financial stability? What is it that you actually value, and what is it, and what do you value that's actually going to contribute to long-term growth, to long-term investment, right? Can you continue to invest your time, energy, and effort into things that are draining you emotionally? If the answer is no, then that new moon in Libra is going to give you an opportunity to reprioritize those things. Here in the last week, we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Like I said, this energy is not going anywhere, and it could be a sense of procrastination. Mercury is moving into Sagittarius. This is your 8th house. This is your house of transformation. And this feels like the reason there's a procrastination with moving forward, with being more intentional with what it is that you value, with being more intentional with your resources, that it's coming from some sort of potentially shared experience. The 8th house is a karmic house. This is the house of transformation. If you start focusing on the things that are actually going to provide value to your life, you're going to have to stop taking on the energy of others. And if you've been doing that your whole life, that can be a really bad habit to break. But it is a habit that can be broken nonetheless, right? Because we're talking about trying to save other people from their own discomfort. Well, there's nothing more uncomfortable than an 8th or 12th house transit. Those are very challenging houses because they deal with the deeper, darker emotions of life. They deal with karmic cycles. So when it comes to this house of transformation, Mercury moving into this house of transformation, I would encourage you, if you're struggling, if you're procrastinating, putting your resources, investing your time, your energy, and effort into the things that actually are going to bring value to your life, I would encourage you to do that deep dive into why. Is this something you inherited from like your parents, from a family member? Is this a generational thing that you've inherited? Are you just so used to taking on the emotional debt of others that you don't know any other way to be, right? This Mercury is thoughts, it's ideas. It's time for you to get real clear on why you're procrastinating, taking action towards your priorities, towards what you know needs to be a priority. Let's get some clearer details if we can. Here in the first week, the Ten of Swords. So it definitely feels like there's something from your past. The Six of Cups in reverse represents nostalgia, but it's nostalgia in a way that like it's memories and emotions that are coming up from the past. We're remembering them, but they're not leaving a very good impression, right? It's things that are coming up from the past that force us to revisit maybe where we have felt betrayed, where we have felt a deep sense of loss. But even though that has happened, this is thought, right? Mercury in Scorpio, and it could be interpersonal relationships. Has there been someone in a romantic relationship, a sibling, a parent, a family member, people that we feel committed to, even friendships, where they have once betrayed us? And this is this in some way you trying to prevent that betrayal from happening again? Right? Because if you can control what you think needs to occur, then you can prevent your own discomfort from the unknown. What are you afraid of, right? So here in this first week, it could be there are a lot of memories that are coming up with Mercury being in Scorpio and with the full moon in Aries. Things coming up from the subconscious. The full moon is bringing up things from the subconscious, things from your past, things that mentally, and the Ten of Swords, this feels like betrayal, like someone else stabbed you in the back, but when it's in reverse, it feels like self-betrayal, which is also a very 12th house thing. Our own subconscious becomes our hidden enemy, and it is what leads us to self-sabotage, and it's what leads us to self-betrayal. You keep repeating this cycle because there are things from the past that are not being addressed. Okay, so when it comes to this full moon, I encourage you to pay very, very close attention to the emotions that keep coming up. Pay attention to the memories that your mind, the memories and the thoughts that your mind keeps going back to. I would very much encourage you to do that, because that's going to tell you the correlating theme between all of those things is going to tell you what is preventing you from taking the right action versus misguided action. Okay. Here in the second week, the Queen of Swords, the Six of Swords, seeing things clearly and being able to move on. With the full moon, your 7th and your 12th house being activated, I would be careful. Some of you could choose to walk away from a relationship. You could choose to finally walk away from something that you have been committed to for a very, very long time. Okay, because the Queen of Pentacles, when she's in reverse, can represent a working parent, but like a single working parent, right? You're having to do all of the heavy lifting when it comes to finances, scheduling, taking care of everyone else's well-being here within the tangible world. And but when she's in reverse, she's controlling. There's this sense of lack that she feels. And so she tries to control everything. She tries to control everything in her physical environment because she does not know how to control how she feels. Okay? Everything else in the external environment is very influential to impacting how potentially you feel. And you need to put in healthy boundaries for yourself. You need to become more emotionally sovereign. And the only way that that's going to happen is for you to do the deep dive, do that deep work, understand why you do what it is that you do. Why do you make the choices that you make? Why do you keep trying to heal other people from their own pain? What are you trying to heal within yourself? Because the more you understand that, the more you can accept that is what's occurring, and the more you can move past it and you can put in healthy boundaries. So that way you don't have to control that situation anymore. But that's what maybe the Queen of Swords is revealing to you. She's revealing to you where in your day-to-day you have been overly controlling. And it is time for you to mentally move on. Take the emotion out of it. Look at your day-to-day more practically. Look at it more practically. And acknowledge where you actually have control versus where you don't have control. And where you don't have control, you need to let that go. And when I say don't have control, I mean you can't control what someone else says, think, or does. You can't. You can't control the health of another person. You can't control those things. You can't control the choices of others, but you can control your choices. Okay? And Venus moving into the sign of Libra, again, this is your day-to-day, focusing on what it is that you value, seeing clearly where you need to actually put your attention. And it's actually going to be able to mentally help you move on from this feeling of lack, like you need to take on more responsibility than what you actually need to do. Here in the third week, focusing on priorities, the Ace of Swords in reverse and the Ten of Wands. You're carrying a lot of responsibility, and I don't think it's all yours. But it could be that the Ace of Swords in reverse, the Ace of Swords is an opportunity for communication. An opportunity for communication or an opportunity for clarity. And it's not there. You know that you need to prioritize. You know you're trying to balance all the things, but you're balancing so many things that it's becoming a very heavy burden. And you're not entirely sure what needs to change. Or this new moon in Libra is going to provide you an opportunity to communicate to other people. Whether that is communicate boundaries or to a spouse, to a friend, to a coworker. I cannot carry all of these responsibilities every single day. I need you to take responsibility for the things that are your responsibility. That's what I need you to do, right? And it could be that throughout this week, you're realizing that, yes, you're balancing all the things, but you're carrying a lot of responsibility and it feels like a very heavy burden. So this week is providing you an opportunity to communicate that clearly if you need help, or to really seek the clarity of what it is that you actually feel like is worth your time. It's not your responsibility. Just because you feel like it's your responsibility does not mean that it is actually your responsibility. Again, understanding what is actually within your control versus what isn't. Here in the last week, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, the Three of Wands in reverse. So procrastination, hesitancy. And this feels like just a fear of loss with the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. You're afraid that it almost feels like there is this fear, because again, procrastination is tied to fear, right? And we have Pentacles here. So this is fear of physical health. This is fear of relationships, or like fear of like change in relationships. If you know that if you start reprioritizing your life, that if you start communicating boundaries, that things are going to have to change. And it could be that you are afraid of the repercussions of that change. Because the Ten of Pentacles is about longevity. It's about the long-term commitment. Even though Pentacles, yes, they represent financial resources, but your resources also include your time, your mental energy, your emotional energy, and your physical energy. Those are also resources. Those are natural resources, basically. So it could be that you're afraid that you will lose that. You will lose the things that you have invested so much of your resources into. And you might. But you have to decide whether you carrying this very heavy burden is worth, like, you losing these resources, you losing something. Is it really worth? What am I trying to say? I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to word it in a way that makes sense. Which is worth it to you? Potentially losing long-term commitment that feels like a very heavy burden, or the freedom that can come with prioritizing yourself above all else. There we go. I knew I like, it was right there on the tip of my tongue, but it was like getting jumbled up. If you want to put this burden down, the duality of that, if you want to make this change, the duality of that is that you are going to potentially lose something that you have invested a lot of time, energy, and effort into. That is the duality of that. And you have to make that choice. Is my personal freedom, is my personal sovereignty more important to me? Is my freedom, is that worth it? Only you can make that choice. Let's see. Big picture thinking, visionary, inspired ideas. I don't really feel like that fits anywhere, but it did pop out. So we'll keep it. I just knocked on that again. I didn't need to, but. Devotion, potency, make your life a moving prayer. Something from your past, again, something that is buried within your subconscious, something that is from your past, is really kind of giving you this. You keep repeating this cycle. The actions that you're taking are misguided. If you're trying to interfere with everyone else, like if you're trying to heal someone else's pain because their pain makes you feel uncomfortable, or watching them struggle, watching them, I don't want to say suffer, but watching them repeat their own self-sabotaging tendencies, if watching that is causing you to take your own misguided action because you're not recognizing that their discomfort, their struggle puts you in a position where you want to save them from themselves, then that is misguided action. Okay? It's coming from a very deep place of either betrayal from another person, or where you just don't want to witness someone else's pain because you've experienced that pain. And instead of healing your own pain, you're like, I know what that feels like, so I'm going to heal someone else. Again, it's a misguided action because you cannot heal yourself by trying to heal someone else. You can only heal yourself. Right? If you continue on this cycle, if you continue on this path, you're going to continue to hurt yourself in ways that you don't realize, because it's going to continue to drain your energy. It's going to continue to take your time. It's going to continue to drain either your resources. So you have to make your life, you can pray for that person, you can wish them well, send them good vibes, but sometimes we have to put boundaries in place. Especially, like, I've dealt with someone who was in the throes of addiction, and I tried that. I tried to help them. I thought if I could just get them to see how their life could be better if they stopped doing X, Y, and Z, then it would make everything better. But all it did was just continue to cycle. And I eventually had to put in strong boundaries and I had to separate myself from that person, regardless of how much it hurt. I couldn't keep watching them suffer. I couldn't keep watching them hit that self-destruct button every single time. That was too painful because I really loved that person. That was just an example. But that's what I mean. Like, you cannot continue to do that because it will begin to take its toll on you. The courageous peony, multifaceted, unique nature. Let yourself be seen. Communicate. Communicate. And when you do, see that bigger picture, see that clearer picture. Take the emotion out of it. And allow yourself to move forward over the things that you can't control. Messenger, bringing harmony and balance. You have an opportunity here the week of the new moon to bring balance, which is a very Libra thing. And this is a new moon in Libra. You have an opportunity to communicate, hey, I'm not going to keep carrying these responsibilities that aren't mine. I can't do it. I need you to take responsibility for your own BS because I'm not going to do it anymore. I can't. Bring harmony and balance to yourself, to your day-to-day life. Loosen your grip. Coping mechanisms, density, addiction. Let God in. Let the divine in. Loosen your grip. Again, we talked about control. This fear of loss. If you loosen your grip, you could lose things that you've worked hard to maintain. Whether that's within your own personal psyche or whether that's here in the physical world, whether that's relationships that you have fought tirelessly to try and keep. You have to decide. Big picture thinking. What is the bigger picture here? Can I save them from themselves? Can I continue to invest all of my resources into something in hopes that it will maintain something below what it should be maintaining? Or am I ready to let myself trust that if I let go, everything will be okay? That's your big picture here. Can you trust in your ability to be able to stand up for yourself, to really let go of these things that are slowly, continuously weighing on you and holding you back? So I truly hope this helped. I had to re-record the ending because the sound died out, so that's probably why things aren't quite matching up. But the overall gist is that it's time for you to create some serious boundaries and stop carrying the weight and responsibilities of other people. So I hope this helped, and we will see you next time.